haven't rolled cameras for a month.
Oh, sorry.
And my wife just burped.
Sorry about that.
Welcome to Doctor Who Review. It's a video log, but it's not really. It's a podcast, but there's some visuals in the background. Why? Because sometimes a cute dog appears in the back of shot. Enjoy it. Put it in the background. It's like the screensavers of a fish tank.
Well, she is asleep right now.
That's very true. But we're not. We're awake, and it's been a month since we last recorded. Why has it been a month since we last recorded? Would you like to explain, very briefly, the sequence of events that led to it taking a month?
Well, aliens appeared, and then...
No, that was in the programme. That was fictional.
Oh.
Yeah. I went away to Panto, didn't I? I went to Panto. We're recording this in April still of 2022.
24th?
It's the 24th of April. 24th of April. 2022. And I'm calling Dent or Dent.
Anyway, that's a different show.
That's a very different show. So we, whatchamacallit, I went and did Panto. And
we did, and
you stayed at home, and while I was away working my arse off, sweating my teats off in a comedy monkey costume.
I went to a gig.
You went to a ghost gig?
I went to a ghost gig. Absolutely fantastic. If you ever get a chance, do it.
It wasn't Bobbins, was it? It was good.
It was not Bobbins. And then came in to see you at Panto.
Yeah, congratulations.
Absolutely fine.
Apologies.
And then I went to work for one day, and I got COVID.
Yep.
I got bloody COVID.
Yep.
It knocked me out really bad, didn't it?
Knocked you for six.
It was
I believe
really
is the
bad.
phrase that
thank goodness
people would use.
for jabs and boosters, because I can't even imagine what it would have been like if I didn't have them.
Yeah, this was you tackling a variant you'd not had, assumedly, because you've had COVID before.
Yeah, we had it at the very, very beginning.
March 2020, and I then went through a brief spate of it in January of this year, and to me it just felt like post-Christmas Panto exhaustion. Yeah. I barely noticed it. The most I noticed it was I got a bit of a dry cough and a headache.
Which is kind of normal for when you come back from Panto.
Yeah.
Because your body is getting used to not doing that every day.
Exactly. Like it just stops after a couple of days and goes, why aren't you doing the thing you were doing every day, 3 times a day for 2 months? But yeah, no, this one absolutely knocked you for a loop. So I've been home. It's now Sunday the 24th. I've been home for a week. The first time I got to hug and kiss my wife was today, because you had 24 hours between 2 negative tests. You've been sleeping on the couch for most of the week.
Yeah.
It's been
not a cruel
crap.
thing. It's not like Christopher made me sleep on the couch or anything. I chose to do it because I was closer to the kitchen that hadn't had medicine in.
Yeah. Plus, we got a new TV not long before I went away to Panto, and it means you
Animal
could
Crossing
sit up and play Animal Crossing on the telly.
Sabrina. Yeah. Anyway,
but so we've both been watching a lot of different telly. You've been revisiting Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I've been binging Legion, which is phenomenal. Since we last recorded, I think, or maybe it was just before we recorded the last video, we watched all of Peacemaker Season 1 in like 2 days. Incredible stuff. Proof
been watching
proof that you can make phenomenal television in a pandemic under COVID compliance conditions without any obvious flaws, hiccups, cock-ups, or detraction of the quality due to that.
We'll get to that one.
Yeah, we also watched Legend of the Sea Devils, which was shite, but...
Anyway.
And I don't like the fact that I disliked it, but it was
We're also
awful.
watching Moon Knight, which is very, very good.
Yeah, but that's weekly, so that's no excuse. We did, however, in the past week, with us sat at very opposite ends of the living room, managed to fit in the next 3 episodes of what y'all are here for. I'm Chris.
I'm not Chris.
And the God Complex. I had fond memories of this one. I watched this quite a few times since it first broadcast. I don't think you've watched it since it first broadcast.
I did.
You've seen it at least once before? The one since, sorry?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the plot of the God Complex? Ha ha ha! Tricked yourself into giving the somebody.
That's what this is about, isn't it?
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
So the Doctor, Amy and Rory arrive...
in what they identify as a replica of a hotel.
Yeah, of an Earth hotel.
Which fascinates him. I love that, because he's like, look at like down to every detail. It's completely stocked. It's not real, but it practically isn't this amazing. And you're like, all right, but what is the hotel really?
It is a...
Admiral Akbar, I think you have the official statement.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. It's a goddamn trap. Because we first meet someone else, don't we? We arrive in the story with a different character.
Yeah, it's a police officer, isn't it?
Yes, she's called Lucy Hayward. And she encounters these weird, bizarre things in different hotel rooms, and ultimately is seemingly killed or scared to death by, quote, that terrible gorilla, unquote. And, yeah, you're left going, the hell did I just watch?
What?
And then the Dr. Amy and Rory arrive, and we meet our other sort of characters for the run. We've got Howie, played by Dimitri Leonidas, who does a great job. He's a younger guy who's sort of like leaning into conspiracy theories on the internet. And
all
like, seemingly nice guy, but he's sort of falling down that path
CIA.
of, dude, calm down, that kind of thing.
Thing is, though, if he were a conspiracy theorist against, about aliens, he would have been bang on the money.
Well, that was the thing, innit? He was all like, it's all a hoax because the
government. Okay.
Gibbous, I can't remember the name of the species that they're meant to be. 1 second, sorry, description. I can't see here on the page I've got, but Gibbous, who is an alien creature that's part of a race that essentially have evolved to accept subjugation.
Yeah,
they've been invaded. They're the most invaded species in the galaxy, and as a result, they all just kind of accept it. And that was the first of many "this is so Hitchhiker's Guide"-esque ideas in this story.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible. Like, the national anthem, like, is like, was it all glory to insert name here?
Yeah.
Because they'd always change it because they are always being invaded. It's a really sad, really upsetting idea that then later on Toby Whithouse, who, can I just say, Toby Whithouse, please come back and write more Doctor Who. You're brilliant at it. You're really good. I also really love Being Human. So come back, Toby Whithouse. But he sets up later the idea that Gibbous, who is played by... for some reason, everyone now calls him children's author, but he's also just terribly unfunny.
Wab wab.
David Walliams, who is great in this. He's great and he plays that character well. It's Andy Pryor casting 101. Like, Andy Pryor's usual thing of, I know the perfect person to play that. And he is perfect in the role. Yeah, he's absolutely spot on. I love that it's changed later into the Doctor's like, I've realised why your species have managed to survive. It isn't because like you just roll over and play dead. It's because you throw the weaker people to the sharks. Like, you haven't become cowardly, you've become sly.
Rude.
Well, that's true though, isn't it? Because he essentially like allows Howie to die.
Yeah.
To prolong his own life. And Howie, of course, like, you know, makes that happen by leaning into his own desires and insecurities. But it's like, oh god, that's really upsetting. And then best of all, we have Rita, played by Amara Karan, who is...
so good.
Let's add her to the list of the ones that got away.
Yeah, definitely.
Because she's one of those characters, especially in the modern era. We've had a few now. It's like Astrid and Rita are sort of like at the top of this mountain of, could they not have stuck around? They're really good. It'd be really nice to see this relationship play out, like with their reaction to the universe and everything. They've all got different ideas as to what this hotel is, but they all know that eventually someone, like one of their companions who is Joe.
He's like a banker kind of...
I think the implication is he's a man of wealth. Because, well, we'll get to that.
Stocks!
But like, he's already seen his room. He's seen something in one of the rooms, and it's like apparently his greatest fear.
Yeah.
And it's driven him nuts, and he started talking like a man possessed. Literally like he's got this other voice in his head, the thing that's coming to get them is sort of like coaxing him to accept it. And they're all talking about it like essentially there's a higher power that's coming to get them.
Yeah.
Hence, the God complex. Except, no, that's actually a title drop later on that makes way more sense and there's a much sneakier use of the terminology. But, I mean, if you're watching this, you've seen the story. It's an excuse.
Is just amazing.
Oh, Rita's?
Yeah.
She's brilliant, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's absolutely brilliant.
When you said that at the beginning of the episode, like, oh, just like, she's one of those that would really, really wish that she'd become a companion. Yeah,
and you went, oh, I don't remember it that and then you watched it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I remember watching it at the time thinking, yay, Amy Rory!
Woo!
Yay! And then having obviously watched all of Doctor Who before this story, knowing, and getting used to the fact that companions change and characters change and stuff like that, I was like, oh, yeah, she would have actually been really good.
Yeah.
Dang it!
She works off of Smith really well. This is your standard sci-fi fantasy show, nightmares made real episode. Like, that's essentially what this is. It's House of Horrors. We're going to see a bunch of weird set pieces, like when Joe's just sat in the canteen where they've just left it, the dining room, the dining area / like disco room, like every
a disco room.
Doesn't it look like it's the one room that basically is like it's a northern working men's club shoved into one part of the hotel, and you know exactly what I mean, right? Yeah. Was there or was there not a shitty little dance floor and a small stage for a DJ to set up?
I want to call them disco rooms for the rest of time.
There you go.
That was so cute.
So when they step in there, he's not alone. He's accompanied by hundreds of ventriloquist dolls.
Yeah.
Which should be scarier.
Oh.
I don't fault the props team. They had to make hundreds of or seemingly 100 odd ventriloquist dolls quickly. So the best way to do that is to create a mould and just work on it. Would be way creepier if they were all, porcelain wooden-headed, glass eyes, like proper mouths. It would have been way creepier than it actually turned out to be.
Now I've got an actual fear of ventriloquist dolls.
And these guys?
These guys...
Nothing.
No, didn't even look like it. I mean, Goosebumps is scarier than that.
Oh god, slappy. Ugh. Both versions. So, yeah. They'll get grabbed by... Oh, come on. The fact that the hotel corridors are a maze... So, of course, what's the thing stalking them? It's a freaking Minotaur. It's so good. And it's so obvious. But what I love about it... And I'm really starting to appreciate this series a lot more than I used to. Mostly because I'm comparing it to the later years. And, again, we'll get to it. We'll reassess it when we watch it. But, the current era as of this broadcast... Especially Flux, there's a lot of problems with just pacing. It never stops. It's quick. Oh, God, keep moving. Do this thing. Say out loud what you can visually see we're doing, so it's kind of redundant dialogue. La, la, la.
Oh, that's so annoying. Now, when you pointed that out, I was like, oh, God, that's going to get under my skin every time.
This episode in particular has so much quiet to it. It has so many moments where it just stops and lets you take in what is happening. And what it means for the people who are going through this weird sensation where the moment they open the door and see something that freaks them out, this other voice is now in their head going, praise him. And it's just like, oh, that's weird. And the way that it intercuts with non-literal stuff. It's like it cuts to footage of them, 2 different emotional takes in one location, usually in a corridor, spotlight on them, they're isolated in the middle of the frame, and they're either screaming and crying or they're laughing and look really happy.
Yeah.
Deliriously happy. And it's that beautiful symbolism of it's the fear that they know they're going to die versus this thing in their head saying, no, this is meant to happen. This is great. This is wonderful. You're going to ascend. Yeah. I love the revelation that it's not a fears come to life that will kill you story. The fears are part of what's needed. It's a story where their faith kills them.
Yeah.
That is genius. Absolutely genius.
That is genuinely really clever.
Because you get to have the everyone's fears and nightmares come to life scenario, but they're not what kills them. That's so good. It's so good. And the way that it plays off of everybody, how Gibbis's faith essentially is what do you call it? That he will be, he will be dominated. He will eventually. His time will come. So it's almost like leaning into that is what will grant him that passage. Then you've got what do you call it?
And he kind of accepts that it's not his responsibility, and he's not going to have to deal with things because somebody's going to take over, and he's just going to go with the flow. That's his.
Yeah. Rita, she believes that it's hell, and it's the fact that the Muslim hell will present itself in many forms as a test. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's an assessment of who you are and what your faith is.
Yeah.
So the more she observes it that way, the more she's relying on her faith. And it's like, oh my God, that is such a wonderfully nuanced bit of dialogue and delivery from Matt Smith and Amara Karan. When I can't remember what the name of it, what the name of Muslim hell is now, but she says it.
I can't remember.
And he goes, "Oh, you're a Muslim," and she goes, don't be frightened," in such a defeated kind of, yeah, and it's like, that's so depressing. But again, keep in mind, and she's being jokey about it, but it's like, this is 2011, and it's like, that's so upsetting. Yeah. That like she thinks she has to sort of make a joke about that, and yeah. Whereas of course the Doctor, like any reasonable person, don't give a crap. Like, you know what I mean? He's not judging her based on her religion at all.
He finds it more fascinating than
how she's processing the event. Yeah, and he's like, okay, that's interesting. Because everyone else is either going, oh. And that's the thing. Howie's faith is in conspiracy, the internet, going down the rabbit hole. Because that's what he uses, that's what he relies on to try and make sense of the world. Yeah. So the moment he starts to lean into it all being a conspiracy, he's doomed. Or the more he leans into it, he's doomed. And then, what do we call it? With Lucy, I don't know if we find out what her faith was, but it was whatever made her feel safe after the gorilla as a child in a book. Was it a zoo? Oh no, it was in a storybook. It was and I love that because that's such a specific fear. And I bet everyone watching this can go back to a time where something they saw, an illustration or a photograph, really spooked them. Mm. Like, I mean, my fear of spiders, like my arachnophobia, comes from seeing a documentary when I was very little and seeing what they look like close up. Like, that doesn't scare me now, but I know that was the genesis of it. Like, that was the beginning. The idea that, that really creepy thing that crawled really quick across the floor and was like the size of a coaster, this massive house spider. Yeah, if it got close to you, that's what its face looks like. I mean, that was it. I was done. Pretty big spider. The cover to the Goosebumps books as well, the UK published ones with the goo and an object or a character floating in the goo. Yeah. Those used to really creep me out. So the fact that her fear is not of gorillas, of that terrible gorilla, unquote. That one image from a book that freaked her out. Standee of Bart Simpson. Is that yours? Brilliant. Brilliant.
The Standee of Bart Simpson.
Where does his head end and his hair begin? It's unnatural. Get the life out of me. Good God.
And the cover of Jack Frost.
What, the Michael Keaton one or the horror movie?
Not the horror movie. Not the one that's actually scary. Both of them have
living snowmen in them.
Not the scary one with the. Oh no, it might have been actually. Well, either.
Did he have sharp teeth?
No.
Then it's the Michael Keaton family comedy one. Yeah.
That's such a weird.
That weird 90s 2000 genre of comedy actor as dad goes through some supernatural contrivance to learn to spend more time with their kids.
A parent has died around Christmas.
But no, he comes back to life at the end, doesn't he, or something? I don't know. Anyway, good. So,
depressing.
But Joe, obviously, his undoing is like he's a man of deep faith because the Doctor sort of notices, Lady Luck, notices his typing, his cufflinks. He's clearly a gambler.
Yeah,
like he's somebody who, or at least someone who believes in luck and predetermined odds or swaying the odds. Sorry, with your faith, and that's when he realizes, which of course leads to Amy being in absolute danger because her faith in the Doctor is something that this presence can sense and is like, that'll be what I get her with. Because Rory's fine. Rory and the Doctor.
Rory has got it.
Well. The Doctor's fine. It doesn't seem... He sees his room, but he doesn't start praising it.
No.
So...
It's kind of like, of course it's you.
Yeah, of course it was you. And then closes the door.
Now, that you said that's explained...
You will find out what it is, and you will be underwhelmed.
No.
It's better not knowing. I think that's better.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. Rory is atheist. He believes more in people.
Get off that foot. Stop.
But he knows that people aren't always good, so it's not so much like a faith in people, more so just a general understanding. So Rory seems very unaffected. And it makes you wonder, would Rory and the Doctor and maybe Gibbous eventually be worn down in some way? Do you know what I mean? Do people stay there so long that they eventually begin to pray to something?
Something, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey, don't chew that foot, swear to God.
So Amy's doomed. I love the little misdirect, a room with the weeping angels in it. And obviously, she went through a horribly traumatic experience with them, and then you realise they're not actually there. It's an illusion. They're safe, and it's not her fear. It's Gibbis's, which implies that there's at least one thing he's seen out there that terrifies him, like genuinely terrifies him. Let's talk about the Minotaur.
Beautiful.
So there's a threat in it. There's no villain, but there is a threat.
Well, there is a villain that you think is a villain.
What?
There's Minotaur.
Oh no, yeah, no, but yeah, what I mean is by the end of the story, there wasn't an evil mastermind.
No.
But there was still threat. People died. Like everyone in this story was a victim of something, either the kidnap or the prison. So the Minotaur essentially was an old god. It was something that was regarded as a god because it was an ancient species. We even get a little nod to the Naimon, a cousin of the Naimon. So this is
Garoon.
No, that's Agador.
I know. I just find.
How many Naimons have you seen today?
1,
Uh-huh.
3.
There we go. Now we're back.
I always want to say 10. I don't know why.
Well, maybe you've seen more Naimons. It's a cousin of the Naimon. It was a deity. It was worshipped as a god. It probably wasn't cruel, but we don't know because that's the thing. It's lived so long it doesn't remember anything of who it was or where it came from. But it has to eat, and it eats faith. Like it devours faith.
Yeah.
That's why it was a god. Its species required worship. You know, there's definitely Naimon similarities and parallels in there, and the fact that it's a Minotaur and a maze, the Greek gods, ancient Greek mythology. There's all these little implications in the story.
Yeah.
But the idea is it's just this thing, this prison that it's been put in after these people rose up against it. Essentially, the whole thing's a giant hologram. It's a ship with a giant simulation in it. That's why it's perfect. Because it seems to currently be taking people mostly from Earth.
Mostly.
Like, occasional aliens, because we see on the walls, we see like a Sontaran. That's such a creepy intro.
Yeah, there was a Jadoon.
There's a Jadoon, there was a Trivator, there's a big old fly head.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really creepy idea. Like, wasn't it? When they got there, and like the first hallway nearest the reception's got all these Employee of the Month pictures, or staff pictures. And they're all the same staff picture, but they've all got a different head, and the head is someone who has been devoured, and the caption, it just reads whatever it was that was their biggest fear.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that's so
Is that explained?
What do you mean? No, I think it's just like a database, isn't it? It's like, here's everyone that was eaten.
I guess.
And there's like hundreds of pictures. This has gone on for a while.
Garoon. Sorry, I just had to get that out.
We'll watch some John soon, just for a laugh. You up for that?
John Pertwee.
So, by the end of it, everybody dead except Gibbis and our trio. But the Doctor really gets a glimpse into how much danger they're being put in, and the fact that he learns the fact that Amy's faith in him, which he has to like sway essentially to get her out of it, or at least try to, and it's enough to break the simulation. Because when she goes into her room turns out to be her as a child waiting. Yeah. Like her biggest fear has always been that he's never going to come back. And it's like, so the fact she then faces it at the end because he feels guilty. He genuinely feels like he's put those two specifically through so much that he's like, I can't do it. You've got to go.
Yeah.
You have to go. I will visit. I'm not going to be a stranger. I'm going to come and see you, but you can't come with me anymore. And he sets up the ultimate kind of like buy package. He arranges it so that when they get back to presumably London, considering Craig is down the road, they've got a home. They've got a car, specifically the car that Rory really liked. And I love that little exchange. How do you know it's my favourite car? Because you want to show me a picture in a magazine and said, that's my favourite car.
That's so cute.
I think he remembered it. Just was like, yeah, okay.
That's so cute.
And Rory's kind of fine with it, because I think Rory gets a sense after the adventure they've just had that we maybe need to step away from this now. Especially because the story before this was the girl who waited. They have been through hell the last couple of weeks. And he wants them to get out of that cycle. The Doctor wants to take them out of the cycle.
Yeah.
No matter how much it's going to, break his heart, But the thing is, by this point, he's learned what's waiting for him because of the Tesselector. So he knows his time, as far as he can feel it in his guts, is coming to an end. He needs to get them out of the way, and go and do his own thing, and then eventually, pay the piper.
Yeah.
And the Minotaur, again, just thematically, the Minotaur is a perfect symbol of that. This thing that has lived forever and ever, and people have died just being near it. They've been whisked away from their normal life, wherever they were, most of them from Earth, because it's an intentional choice. They've been whisked away randomly from their normal life by an old, ancient space thing that kills them. No matter how much they try to avoid it, and no matter how much the Minotaur does not want to kill them, they still have to die.
Yeah.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
This episode in the arc of the series is really good. It works so well on its own. The simplistic setting of that four-pointed corridor is shot in so many different ways that it feels like a never-ending maze. The glimpses into fears that we never get an explanation for, like the sad clown sitting on the end of the bed.
Maybe maybe he was put in the hotel.
Oh, you think he's just another person? Is anyone going to come and get me?
He's like, oh, I'm a clown. I'm sad because he's a clown, and he hates his life choices. I reckon that's it.
And then they choked on my teeth. I was trying not to laugh. Oh God, I went down the wrong way.
But yeah, it's cracking, that one. I get this one confused with the "Are you gonna take me away?"
Night Terrors.
Yeah.
Well, now you can't because you've seen them both, and you know that one of them's got Lagear, and the other one's got. Have you come to take me away?
Oh shit! Sorry.
Have you come to take me away? Jesus. Please don't quote Harry Potter. Let's avoid transphobes. Oh, well, I've just remembered who wrote the next episode. Sorry, carry on.
No.
But the God Complex, Toby Whithouse, fantastic
what
job.
was I going to say? Oh yeah,
Rita's brilliant.
Because of the toy house, the toy house.
Yes.
I get confused that I always think that Amy and Rory are going to pick up a lantern that's made out of wood or something. Or there's going to be an eye in the drawer. I just get confused because
massive eye.
The settings are sort of similar.
I get you. I still think this one stands.
Yeah, definitely.
I think this is...
God, that was a click.
Yeah, I think for me, this, The Girl Who Waited, and The Doctor's Wife are hands down the best of the series. I think they're the best three stories in this series.
I think you're the best story in this.
I have a soft spot for A Good Man Goes to War because I really like the pacing and it feels exciting the whole time. But The Doctor's Wife, The Girl Who Waited, The Girl Who Waited, and The God Complex, to me, they're the standouts this series. They're the ones that make me go, yeah, all right, there's some really good stuff in here. What do you think? Do you like The God Complex?
I really like it. I knew I liked it before.
Yeah.
But now I know why.
It was one of those where you were doing a project and by the end you weren't doing your project.
Oh, really?
You were just watching the telly.
Sign. That's always a good sign, isn't it?
Oh God, Rita on the CCTV, that whole sequence. And she knows
so
she knows she's gonna die and it's gonna give them some time when she basically says please stop watching, at least let me die with dignity. Because I'm at least let me die with the illusion that I died with dignity. Because I know I'm losing. Do you know what I mean? She knows it's horrible. She knows it's breaking her faith and everything she stands for to do this.
Yeah.
And the Doctor respectfully turns the camera off the moment the Minotaur arrives in the corridor, and it's so good. When they trap it in the salon in the hotel, the way it's shot, it's never shot full on until you see it dying. You never see it completely.
Yeah.
It's always through
except that
through crinkled glass or a weird warped angle as it stomps down the corridor. And
there was something that I thought was really cool. Actually,
so good. I love the design of it as well. Sorry, go on. I really like this episode. Sorry, it's nice to talk about.
When they're running down the corridor they're running away from it.
Yeah.
And you just see in the background, it's not focused on or anything, you just see it turn the corner and it's legging it after them.
Mm.
And it's not focused on, you just, if you weren't looking in that direction, you wouldn't have seen it. And it's like, oh.
It's just there.
Oh no, that's scary. When you don't focus on it,
yeah,
it's scarier.
Speaking of not focusing on it because it's scary, because we wrote it.
Meow.
Closing time. What's the plot of Closing Time? Not Chris.
The Doctor's doing a little see you later tour, and how do you get on to the next episode? Oh yeah, I found it.
Are you looking on Wiki?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you find it?
Sorry, I got a bit phlegmy then.
Oh, lovely! I love a bit of phlegm. Phlegm.
Yeah, so he goes to see Craig,
and I like this idea. I think it's a cute idea.
And Craig is looking after his wee Barbie.
He's just popping in to see a friend, an uncomplicated friend who he's not. Sorry. What?
Just kind of ironic when you hear a story about James Corden.
Yeah. Let's hope that Craig and Sophie never take little Alfie onto a
plane.
Onto a plane.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Doctor's popping in, and
I don't see any credit for Alfie.
Hilarity ensues, and the Doctor can speak baby and finds out that Alfie,
we learnt earlier this series. No, she's called Mummy, not Big Milk Thing.
Because Alfie is actually called
prefers to be called Stormageddon, the Dark Lord of All,
which is fantastic.
Or Stormy, as he's called for a lot of the episode.
So cute. But the Doctor's like, yeah, everything's fine. Oh, people are disappearing. Oh no, yep, that's fine. Oh, there's a power surge. Oh no, everything's fine.
Not going to investigate. I'm not
doing anything. Oh, okay, I need to do something.
Because we learned that people have gone missing over the last couple of weeks in that area.
Yeah.
And the most recent one is a supervisor in the shop that the Doctor gets a job in to keep an eye on it.
So funny.
Running the toy department. Because of course he does.
I must say, that was the most boring looking department store I've ever seen in my life.
So, a department store?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but it can't be all boring, because it's got Linda Barron in it as Val.
Yeah.
Making her third Doctor Who appearance, Linda Barron. Remember the other two?
Yeah.
The
legend.
Singing voice for the gunfighters, yes. And Enlightenment as a pirate captain. Flying a spaceship through the stars.
Badass.
She's so good. And she's come outside one more time to pop in to this episode as Val.
Yeah, she's died now.
Yeah, she passed away not that long ago, like a year ago, or if that.
No, it wasn't a year ago, it was this year.
It was recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, a year ago.
Yes, it was. Oh my god, it was a month ago.
What are you on about?
Age 82. Do you know where she comes from?
Go on.
So her actual name was Lillian Ridgway.
Cute.
And she was born in Urmston.
No, she wasn't.
That's near where we grew up.
Oh my goodness me.
What was that then?
My little box fell out of shock.
Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, Linda Barron's in it, and that's great. So yeah, the Doctor gets a job in the shop. I love that his name tag says the Doctor. I love that he's been there maybe a couple of days. Well, the thing is, for Craig, it's the next day.
Yeah.
But it's entirely possible that the Doctor went back in time a few days and got the job. So he's been there for a little while. Like, unbeknownst to Craig, the Doctor's been working in that shop for like a week. Which is hilarious. Because he's investigating, everybody on the staff loves him. In that same way that sort of like the townsfolk of Ledworth just loved him in the 11th Hour.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's the Doctor! The Raggedy Doctor! Because they're just like, yay, it's that imaginary friend of yours! It's like, why is this perfectly normal to everyone?
Okay.
But yeah,
it's just a child.
It's just a game. You made me dress up as him. So... God.
What? Oh my goodness.
So